We love summer. We are spending as much time outside as we can these days, between trips to the pool and tending the garden. But I find myself really unmotivated to want to stay inside and cook in these nice summer days. It's currently Monday afternoon. The kids and I just got back from the pool, and I have a couple-hour time block that I'm going to attempt to prep our dinners for the rest of the week so that we can get nourishing meals on the table these next couple of days without a ton of time or effort. After getting up and doing chores and having breakfast most days, we are spending a couple of hours outside in the garden. It is currently overrun by weeds, so we are needing to get out there and weed daily to at least get a first pass through everything to keep the weeds from taking over everything that we have planted. We are definitely rethinking some strategies to make this easier for the future, like laying down mulch and straw to keep those weeds at bay, because this year they have been particularly awful. And so a week or two ago, we actually had several dead trees on our property removed, and now we have a few huge piles of mulch available to try to cover those weeds. It's also berry season, so our raspberries, black raspberries, currants, and mulberries are ripening like crazy, and with all the rain that we've gotten, there are so many berries on the bushes, and we've been trying to stay on top of harvesting those, which means harvesting every day or every other day, and I tend to do this in the afternoons if possible, and so we are freezing most of those berries to have for the year ahead. I like to do this by laying them down on a cookie sheet first to flash freeze them. This way they don't all clump together when you put them in Ziploc bags. In between staying on top of all of the outside things on our homestead, we're also trying to be intentional about just enjoying these summer days as much as possible with doing fun things off the homestead as well. So we have a local pool nearby that we've been trying to get to as much as possible, even if it's just for an hour or two a few times a week. I grew up doing swim team and in the pool a ton, so for me, I love spending time with our kids this way. It works out really well since Jim works from home. He can stay home and get some work done because he's not as big of a pool fan as I am. And so while our younger two kids nap, he can get some work done, and then it allows me to take our older two kids to sneak to the pool for a couple of hours. So now I'm gonna get to work prepping these meals for the week so that I don't have to think about what we are going to eat these next few days. And I find that anything I can do to lighten that mental load is a huge help in making these days feel less overwhelming, less stressful. Just knowing what we're gonna have is huge. I'm going to start by cooking 3 cups of dried rice and some chicken broth. And instead of cooking rice in water, I prefer to cook it in either broth or leftover whey from cheese making for both the added flavor as well as the nutritional components that this adds. I also like to make my rice ahead of time if possible because there are actually nutritional benefits to heating rice and then cooling it down in the refrigerator before eating it. What this heating and cooling process does is actually change the molecular structure of the rice and allows it to become a resistant starch. And resistant starches are beneficial because they don't spike your blood sugar as much as regular starches would. And they also help to feed the good microbes in your gut. And so just this simple step of making the rice in advance, cooling it down, adds so much nutritional value. After bringing the rice to a boil, I'm going to let that slow cook while I prepare everything else. The rice is going to be used for 2 of our meals this week. The first is going to be taco bowls, and these are a staple in our house. They're really easy to put together and everyone loves them. So prepping them is really easy. It's actually just making the rice in advance. Tomorrow, when we actually eat the taco bowls, I'm gonna make these with a chuck roast, and so I'm just gonna get that chuck roast slow cooking early in the morning, so that's gonna be completely hands off, and that will be ready by dinner time. And then we'll serve the rice and shredded beef along with some shredded cheese, avocado, sour cream, Sometimes we'll cook some beans as well. All things that we typically always have on hand. And really, you can make taco bowls with any type of protein. Ground beef, shredded pork, or chicken. We actually usually start our week by cooking a whole chicken to have on hand for meals for the rest of the week. But this past Saturday, we actually processed all of our chickens for the year, 40-something chickens we processed. And so we are taking a break from chicken this week. We'll get back to that next week, and we're swapping it out with a beef roast instead. And I know a lot of families do a weekly taco night, which we really like to do too. And I have a few tortilla recipes that we like to make, even that are on our website. But sometimes in the summer when life is full, I just need something that's gonna be quick and easy, and it's way faster for us to make some rice than it is to whip up a bunch of tortillas. And so right now, this is a way that we can simplify and save some time in the kitchen. The other meal that we'll use the rice for is a curry with beef stew meat. So this is another one that we have somewhat regularly and was actually inspired by a recipe in the Prairie Homestead Cookbook. I'm not typically a big cookbook user, but I really do like Jill Winger's cookbook from the Prairie Homestead. I find her style to use simple homestead ingredients, really similar to the way that we cook. I adapted her recipe quite a bit though, and add whatever vegetables we have on hand. So today I'm gonna chop up an onion, and we are overflowing in garlic scapes, so I'm gonna be adding those. I'm adding them anywhere that I can right now. We also have a few pretty measly looking carrots that are the bottom of the barrel from the carrots we harvested and stored from last year's harvest. I'm going to saute those together in one pan, and then while those are cooking, I'll saute the beef stew meat in a separate pan and then combine them together with around 2 cups of broth, and then we'll add our spices. I'm gonna add some salt, curry powder, and a little bit of cumin and cinnamon.
Soldier, Bobby. Look at all these white things. That can hide.
Once this all comes together, I'll let it slow cook for the next hour or so those carrots can get nice and soft. And curry, like other soups and stews, is one of those things that just gets better over time as those flavors have a chance to meld together. So cooking them a day or two in advance is definitely the way to go. The third meal we're making is that I'm gonna make a marinade for some pork chops. And I think it's really easy to overcomplicate meals, thinking that we need to have a salad and a bread and all of the things with every meal. And if you can do that, that's awesome. But my philosophy is generally that we have a good protein and some sort of side to go along with it. Usually that's a vegetable, sometimes it's a fruit, and if we have that, we're doing great. Real food meals can be simple and basic and still fill you up and be really satisfying. At least once a week, if not a couple times a week, we'll do a really basic meat and vegetables sort of meal. So something like pork chops or steaks, because they are so quick and easy to cook up in our cast iron pan at high heat. I don't always marinate them, but if I can think of it in advance and plan for it, it really makes them so much more delicious. So today we're gonna be marinating some pork chops to have later this week.
I have this sword. Let's put my split.
For this marinade, I'm combining some coconut aminos, chopped garlic, a bit of Worcestershire sauce, lemon juice, and some brown sugar. And after mixing all that together, I'm gonna place the pork chops in a gallon-sized plastic bag and then pour the marinade in, squish it all together, and place that in the fridge until we're ready to fry them up. Jim thinks this marinade tastes a lot like the Jack Daniel's sauce from Fridays, which is one of his favorites, and so this one's always a winner at our house. We always have applesauce on hand that we can serve with pork chops, and I'm thinking I'm gonna bake up some sweet potato fries to go with them. To make the baked sweet potato fries, I just put some fat in a pan, get that preheating to 450 degrees while I chop up our sweet potatoes into a fry shape, and then just bake them in that cooking fat at 450 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. And the big tip to help those sweet potato fries crisp up a bit and not just be kind of soggy is after they finished roasting and are nice and cooked, to actually turn off your oven and let them sit in a cooling oven for another 5 to 10 minutes, and this just helps crisp them up a little bit before serving. The last thing that I'm making that we are actually going to be eating for dinner tonight is our quick pizza dough recipe. So you can whip this one up start to finish in less than an hour, which is perfect for busy weeknights, and we especially love this one in the summer. It's the perfect way to use up that little bit of leftover vegetables or meat that you have laying around that you don't know what to do with. Our sourdough deep dish pizza is our staple for our family pizza night on the weekends, but this pizza is great for those busy weeknights when you just need something fast. I need to grind some flour first to make this, so we'll do this in our Nutritional Harvest, which is awesome because I can grind several cups of flour in just a couple of minutes so that we can use fresh flour. I'll include the full recipe below, but the recipe on our website actually has you using einkorn flour for this pizza, which would totally work, but you could also use any wheat flour. So today I'm going to be using white wheat berries that we recently picked up from our Azure standard order. The pizza dough is 4 to 5 cups of flour mixed with quick rising yeast, and it's important to get the quick rising yeast because this is going to allow you to make that pizza dough in less than an hour. Then you're going to add some salt and a little bit of sugar. Once that's all mixed together, you'll add in water and a couple tablespoons of olive oil. Mix that together until a dough forms. You can add a little flour if you need to, and then knead it for several minutes and then let it rest for about 15 to 20 minutes. This is the perfect amount of time to let you get your toppings ready. We have some leftover sausage from the weekend along with some mushrooms that really need to get eaten, and of course garlic scapes. So we'll chop up the vegetables and saute those, and while those are cooking we will get our cheese ready. We'll shred our cheese, we'll slice the sausage. We always like to do a combination of our shredded farmhouse cheddar cheese, which kind of tastes like a Parmesan, and mozzarella on pizza. The combination of the two together is really delicious. For sauce, I'm gonna do a mixture of our pesto sauce that we had in the freezer from last year along with some canned tomato sauce. I like to make these pizzas in our 12-inch cast iron pans, and so I had those preheating in the oven with some fat on the pan. Preheating the cast iron pans is what's going to keep the pizza dough from sticking to them. So once they're preheated, I'll pull them out and I'll roll out the pizza dough and add our toppings directly to the unbaked crust. This is going to bake at 450 degrees for around 15 minutes until the cheese is nice and melted. While the pizzas are cooking, I'm going to pull out the things that we had slow cooking, the rice and the curry, which are now done. And the last step in that curry is that you want to stir in a half a cup or so of sour cream, or if you don't have sour cream, you could also just do regular cream, and that's going to give that curry that nice creamy texture that you want. Whew, we did it. We got dinner on the table at 5, which is when we normally eat, as well as having a game plan for our meals for the next few days, and each of them should really only require a few minutes of hands-on time to get dinner on the table. This means that we can enjoy more outside time, doing the things that need to get done and all the fun things, while still enjoying homemade, healthy meals as a family.